Welcome to the WOW series. I'm glad you decided to join us. We're going to be breaking down how to service not only the client, but the partner in this series that we go through of getting a difference as a loan officer, making an impact as the transaction goes through, so you're more likely to be referred through the process. We're going to go through a couple bullet points. The first bullet point is we have to create the platform. What is the platform in which a client goes through that gets them to say, wow, that was a great experience? You know, I'll often use the example of you going out to a fancy restaurant and they bring you a great little appetizer courtesy of the chef, and you say, wow, that was awesome. And they do some extra things that make it a good experience for you that doesn't have to be done at your everyday grocery store or everyday restaurant or everyday mortgage company or real estate company. So the first piece is creating the platform. I know that sounds easy, but there's three keys to that platform and making them consistent. Here's what we have noticed in most of the top producers that have a great platform for clients going through the process and being referred and moving them up the ladder, that loyalty ladder from prospect to customer to client to advocate to ultimately being a raving fan for your business. So what are some three categories that we need to focus on to start creating the platform for your referral business in the WOW series? So let's look at it. The first piece is going to be your initial contact. Number one is your initial contact. What does that look like from a standpoint of you and the client? If you're the client, put yourself in their shoes. What does it look like? Have they had a chance to look at some of your surveys? Did you pass that information on about how you 5.0'd on the last 7 to 12 deals, or your record is very high? Did you explain to them that most clients are referred to you and that you honor their business and know they had a lot of choices for lender, and you truly are looking forward to taking great care of them so they're confident referring friends, family, and coworkers? This can be done in an email, a text message, a video, just like I'm doing. So there's a lot of ways at that first part, but the first key is going to be the initial contact. What's the flavor for what they get in the initial contact? It reminds me of a restaurant that I used to visit all the time. I love giving the example because when you pulled in, it was like any other parking lot in the middle, busy plaza. But once you got up to their walkway, it was full of tons and tons of greenery all around, a walkway, arched, long walkway, full. But they also had some beautiful music playing that just brought you down and brought you to ease. When you walked in, they knew you by name because of your reservation. They knew you by name. You're at 6 o'clock. Hi, you must be Brad Roach. Welcome to our restaurant. And they walk you in. Then they take you past the desserts. Then when you sit down, they take the white linen. And this wasn't a fancy white linen place. They played the part, or they had the role of a little bit better than average, and I don't think it takes much. So this was the same place. It was called Charlie's Crab, that when you ordered crab, they would come out with white gloves on and crack it for you. It was unbelievable, first-class rated service for the same price you would get at a Red Lobster. So my point being, when a client first walks into your business, or that impression is there that they make in about 3 seconds, what is it that they get from you? How do you follow up, and what does it look like that first, let's call it 48 to 72 hours? So we know the initial contact is point one, making an impact. Point two is going to be the peak of excitement. When is the peak of excitement going through a mortgage transaction? Well, I think there's two. Once when you get into contract, and once when you're approved. So if it's a purchase transaction, we want to focus on when that contract was accepted, when the family said, oh my gosh, we're going into this address, and they're driving by and they're telling Grandma and Uncle Buck, come by, and the kids know which room they're getting. We want to tie in to that excitement and really make sure that it's not about the transaction as much as it is for them emotional, and that you're tying into that part of the experience, that monumental life moment that they're having right now, today. That's what they're getting. Are you a part of that? How do you get to be a part of it? Well, I think instead of just sending disclosures and saying, here, fill out this crap so we can get you a loan, it would be nice to have that great phone call that's not just about the paperwork and the qualification, the mortgage and all of that, but discussing, why did you pick that house? What neighborhood? How did it go? And asking some of the details that might tie into their favorite restaurant that's nearby, or is it near the coffee shop, or how far is it from work? How far is it for the kids to get to school? Is the bus stop really close? Wow. And talking about the difference in weather from where maybe they're relocating, and going very personal on this approach, and making the impact as if you were part of the family. not only do we do a phone call at those peak opportunities, but I think a small token to say, wow, congratulations is a necessary thing to do. I would want that if I was going through the process. I was blown away. That reminds me of a story. I'm going to tell you a few of them because it's interacted in a lot of other businesses. But when you bring it all together in your mortgage or real estate business, wow, could it explode? So think about this. When a client gets into contract, it's a peak moment. I bought a Harley Davidson. I got home. They called and asked me how the ride home was. And then they also followed up within a couple of days with these beautiful mugs I still use to this day. And I'm a HOG member. So they made it a big deal. I don't know what a HOG member is, but I know that I'm cool because of it. So they brought me into the club. They made me feel special. They were excited about it. And that's what I'm looking to do with clients. But let's go into the first phase was initial contact. The second was the peak excitement levels during the transaction, which is your contract or approval. And C, or number 3, is going to be a few days before closing, reaching out to the client and talking about their day of move or what that's going to be like not having a house payment for a month on a refinance, and where they may be able to capture a little bit more progress towards their personal goals and savings. So we've covered creating the platform, initial contact, peak excitement action item, obviously, and then a few days before closing, following up with the client in various different ways. Maybe it would be a phone call, text message. Phone call is going to be your best. But let's look at some action items that top producing teams as well as mine do during the process on these 3 key points that we just covered. The first one is an after application thank you call. I think that's an easy one. There's no dollars related. Thank them for choosing you. You know you had a lot of choices in lender or realtor. We're honored. Anything I can do extra for you during the process, we want to make this an experience that is one not only that's pleasurable, rememberable, exciting time of your life, but one that makes you comfortable telling your friends, family, and coworkers, we helped you. We'd love more great people like you. We've got to have that action item or that after application thank you call, that video that may follow up. There's a few layers to top producers that they may do a phone call, text, and video about this same topic. Let's look at I called this A2, which would be present 2 or 3 options to the client. Don't just wham and throw them one option based on what they told you. Ask them some detailed questions, and then not only, I know a lot of people ask the questions, how long you're going to be in the house and what's the plans and things like that, but are we really narrowing it down to give them a couple options that may make better sense for them, that they can choose between you and you instead of you and the competition? Remember, one of the key items was the peak excitement. Well, what goes with that is connecting and being excited with them, but also showing that small token of appreciation. Many of you know when they get into contract or apply with us for the first time, we send out a couple brownies and a beautiful card of the new home postcard that has the cover on it through send out cards. I think it's a huge way as a low impact dollar amount to wow the client, like that little appetizer that you may get at the fancy restaurant you weren't expecting. It's one up to say, wow, that place was a little bit different. Let's look at the next piece, which will be the next action item, the closing call. Calling, texting, or maybe even getting magazines like we do out over the next 12 months, but really a few days before closing, making the action item a phone call of, again, appreciation and excitement about their move or their savings on their refinance or their new beginning because you've saved them over $450 a month, and a plan or strategy that they can apply that towards principal or apply it towards other debt to make an impact on their family and generations to come. Are you being involved? So when it comes down to wowing the client, the first phase of this is going to be getting down the platform and having those 3 action items around the 3 timing moments that we just talked about. Make it a great day, and we'll see you next time on the Wow Series number 2.